About the author. Jonathan Swift (1667–1745), Irish cleric, political pamphleteer, satirist, born in Dublin, Ireland, fatherless, raised by three uncles and educated from an early age, attended Trinity College, not a great student. Gulliver in the Land of the Giants. Summary. Gulliver returns to the sea in a ship 10 months after his return from Lilliput and Blefuscu. The journey begins very smoothly, the only delay being caused by an illness contracted by the captain. They continue on their journey for several months until a storm begins to brew, pushing the ship several miles off track. On June 16, 1703, the crew sees land and drops anchor, at which point the captain sends a dozen men on shore to fetch water. Gulliver wanders away from the other men to observe the countryside until he sees them in the boat hurrying back to the ship. He tries to call out to them, but he sees that they are being chased by a giant, though the giant is not able to catch the boat. Gulliver runs as fast as he can into the island. Gulliver finds that much of the island is well cultivated, but to his surprise, when he comes across a hayfield, he realizes that the grass is more than 20 feet tall. Similarly, corn is at least 40 feet high. Gulliver sees another giant, this time well dressed, walking along the path he is on. He notes that each of the giant's strides is about 10 yards long. The well-dressed giant is joined by 7 workers, whom he instructs to begin reaping the corn, though Gulliver cannot understand the language. Exhausted and filled with despair, Gulliver lies down and hopes that he will die. He begins to think back on the Lilliputians who thought that he was such a powerful and strong creature, saying that he now feels as a single Lilliputian would feel among humans. When he is about to be stepped on by one of the farmers, Gulliver cries out as loudly as he can. The giant stops short and picks up Gulliver to get a better look. Gulliver resists struggling in order to avoid being dropped 60 feet to the ground and instead brings his hands to a prayer position and points his eyes skyward. The giant seems pleased with Gulliver and, putting him in his pocket, heads over to show his master. The master takes Gulliver home to show his wife, who screams at first, but when she sees how polite Gulliver is, she quickly warms up to him. Gulliver and the farmer try to speak to each other but are unsuccessful. At dinnertime, Gulliver sees that the full family consists of the parents, 3 children, and an elderly grandmother. The farmer's wife breaks up some bread and a small piece of meat and hands them to Gulliver, who gets out his knife and fork and proceeds to eat, thoroughly delighting the whole family. Later, as Gulliver walks across the table toward the farmer, whom he now calls his master, the farmer's son picks him up by one leg and dangles him in the air until the farmer grabs him back and boxes the boy's ear. Gulliver, not wanting to make an enemy in his new home, signals that he would like the boy to be pardoned, which he is. At this point an infant is brought into the room, who at the sight of Gulliver cries to get him into its hand, with which the mother obliges. Quickly the baby squeezes Gulliver and puts his head in its mouth, at which Gulliver cries out until the baby drops him, luckily into the mother's apron. The baby cannot be quieted until the nurse nurses it. After dinner Gulliver signals that he is tired. The farmer's wife sets him on her bed and covers him with a handkerchief, where he sleeps until 2 rats the size of large dogs startles him. Gulliver fights them with his hanger, a short sword, killing one and scaring the other away.